You're listening to Whispers of War.
Hello everyone and welcome to Whispers of War show 47. I wanted to say 74, but we're not there yet. We have to reach 50 first. So show 47, I'm your host Sil, and let's jump into how was my weekend. Wow. I did grind a lot, I have to say. My ass is tired of grinding. I am almost there. So I almost have flying. I think I can probably get it tomorrow if I do my dailies. I could have probably already had it by Saturday, but I didn't, just because there were 1 or 2 days that I skipped my dailies, bad on my part, but yeah, I just didn't have the time, so I didn't do it. But I am on 88% now, so I am pretty confident that I can get it in one day. I hope. It depends how busy I am, I guess, tomorrow. So yeah, I'm happy with that. And what else did I do except for all the grinding? I actually got into pet battling a little bit because, you know, you can also get some reputation by doing the pet battles in Mechagon. So I did that, and yeah, that was actually interesting. I had to buy some pets from the auction house that were level 25 because I have just not done any of the pet battles. So my levels are really piss poor. If anyone is really into pet battling, and I know some of you guys really are, please tell me how to level these guys up really quickly, because I think I actually want to get back into this. I love Pokemon, so I want to build up a strong roster of pets that I can use for things like this. I think that will just be giving the game an extra level for myself, I guess. So yeah, let me know how I should level these guys really quickly. Other than that, I still really want to level my Alliance Rogue. I know that, you know, I've posted on Instagram, shall I change to a Void Elf or a Night Elf? And, you know, I think actually I said, you know, should I change from human to Night Elf? And then the lovely EJ came up with, oh, what about a Void Elf? And you know what? More people have said Void Elf. And I do like my Blood Elf Rogue, so I might have to change her. Just because I don't mind the human model, but this might sound a bit weird. But I think that the female, human female, has a bit much, you know, badonkadonks going on. She's very curvy, which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm quite curvy. But for a rogue, it feels a little bit weird. So I think that the light form of a Void Elf would probably work a bit better. For me, personally. That's my personal aesthetical view. I think, you know, my hunter is a human and I think she looks amazing. So maybe the rogue will have to do a little bit of a cosmetic surgery. But I am going to wait until we have another sale again for anything like that. So yeah, I am still cheap. I'm not going to pay £19 just to change the appearance. You know, I can wait. So that's really it. Just a lot of grinding. I've been watching a lot of WoW Classic videos on YouTube still. And I'm still none the wiser. I'm still debating between Rogue or Druid, and I just don't know. I have to admit that actually, you know, that I said that I shifted more towards Rogue. Well, of course, another week, another mind change. I'm actually debating going Druid just because I wouldn't mind leveling as a tank, to be fair, during dungeons. So maybe I want to try that now. I know it's a little bit different than it used to be. But there was a time I did enjoy tanking as a bear, so who knows? Maybe I should just try it and see if I like it. If not, then, you know, I'll make so many alts anyway, so I'll jump to something else. So that's it for Classic. And that was really it. I bought some swag from the lovely Yasamin and Evertel. So I have my own, no, it was a shit show, obviously, mug. And knowledge is power. Because I'm all for supporting people that you like and love and love to see and hear. So if there are any other YouTubers or podcasters out there that have their merch, I'm looking at you, DPS family. I want it. So send me in the right direction, because I want to support some people. And that's it. So I am going to leave you with an interview with the lovely Yasamin, and I will get back to you with some of your Twitter answers. And yeah, that's it. Oh, before I do that, however, I know that some people wanted to know. So I have 2 Murlocs of my own, but we've now redubbed them as little water dragons. So I have 2 axolotls, because my turtle got a big upgrade. She has a massive tank now, but my axolotls could easily fit into that tank. And I wanted to call them after Murlocs, after Cookie, the chef in... what's that first one that you go in the Dead Mines? And Lurky. But they don't really strike me as Murlocs, so I need dragon names, and I still haven't really found it yet, what I want to call them. But for the moment, they are just nameless. And yeah, they are doing alright, for some of you who've asked, and it's becoming more and more of a zoo in here, as my boyfriend likes to call it. Anyhow, so the water dragons / Murlocs are doing okay. Right, interview time, and I'll be back afterwards. And with me today, I'm being joined by, finally again, a female voice. I did a little bit of a call out on the internet, and my god, the females and ladies of World of Warcraft have responded en masse. I'm really, really happy with that. And the first lady I'm interviewing is Yasamin. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello.
I'm always very bad with pronouncing names, so I'm sure that I will balls it up at some point again. Everyone knows already I can't pronounce names at all. I just blame my Dutch tongue, that's why. So, we have that awkward introduction out of the way. Yasamin, can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself? Anything that you want to share?
Oh gosh, now's the part where I have to be interesting.
I'm sure you are.
Well, I've been playing WoW on and off since sort of BC-ish. I actually, a friend of a friend put her laptop on my lap and said, "Hey, I'm playing this game, can you level my mage for me?" And that was my introduction to World of Warcraft. So a bit of a baptism of fire. It was a PvP realm, and I was in Stranglethorn Vale, so I was ganked within 2 minutes. But you know what? I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
You know, that's like being thrown into the deep end immediately. Like, oh yeah, can you here? It's PvP time.
It really was, and a mage as well. And she just pointed at Ice Shield and went, "If you're getting attacked, use that." Okay, cool.
Do you think that was a tactical thing? Like, oh, let's see if she manages this, I need to get her into World of Warcraft.
Yeah, she watched me die about 5 times and then came over and said, "Let me show you how to play this." Thank you.
Very clever, very clever. Okay.
It worked.
That's a good thing. Okay, what did you eventually start off with? Was it Horde or Alliance, and are you still playing the faction that you chose?
I did start off Alliance. I am still Alliance. I dabble in the Horde, you know. I go over to the dark side every so often. No, I think they're wonderful. I think the Horde players are... They're a fun bunch, you know, but the Alliance, it's kind of, they're who I've grown up with, you know. They're my friends, they're my family. The Horde is like this madcap bunch that I go and mess about with occasionally. No, I main a night elf druid. I am a walking stereotype, and a DPS.
That's how I started, in all fairness. So
I love the night elves. I love their lore. I love, you know, the lore is kind of what gets me back into. Well, every time I drop it, somebody says something about, "Hey, have you seen what's happening in the storyline?" I'm like, "No, but now I've resubbed, so tell me about it while I level." And yeah,
that's really good. So, what kind of flavor of druid are you playing?
Stereotypical balance. I've always been balance. I started off thinking that I wanted to play a caster class, so I went for a shadow priest. This was when I came back in Legion after years of exams and staring wistfully at my WoW books. And came back, started a Shadow Priest, died a lot, and thought I need something that's a little bit more durable than this. And at the time I was obsessed with the Worgen and with Gilneas, and I still am. So I thought I'd try a Worgen Druid, who, yeah, is now a Night Elf Druid. And so that went so well. But yeah, I did try Feral once, I think, because I thought the idea of being a cat running around in stealth was amazing. I thought that would be great for PvP for the 5 minutes when I thought I would actually do some PvP.
Mm-hmm.
Went to a battleground, it went awfully. I came back out and thought, no, balance. So yeah, I stick to my laser chicken.
You know what, I've played, and I still play when I'm on my druid boom chicken, because I don't know, it's something, you know, and sometimes I know I have the glyph of stars, but I just kind of like the moonkin form at times, because I this is taking me back in the vanilla days, when our guild decided, okay, we're done with raiding now. Anyone want PvP? And you know, you were young, and you were like, yeah, I don't have responsibilities in the morning, so I might as well. So we were in battlegrounds, and there was something very satisfying being a giant chicken and just shooting people with your laser beams.
Oh, hell yeah.
It was very satisfying.
Yep.
So, yeah, no, I understand that. The change from Worgen to Night Elf, just because, you know, I have a very strong opinion about female Worgen, and this is... I know we have female Worgen players, and I know that you love them, but you know how I feel about the graphics on them. I think we could do better. Was that one of the reasons why you switched?
It was, yeah. I just, the animation felt janky. I can't think of a better word for it. It just felt janky. And the face, yeah. And I have Worgen been updated yet, or am I out of date?
No, because I was wondering, I thought we were getting that in 8.2, and I was really disappointed. But I think it's 8.2.5, what I've been heard.
Right.
So I think we have to wait a little bit longer.
I wanted some, well, it's a Worgen, it's a werewolf, you know? We've been bitten, we've been cursed, we've grown fur out of places that fur should not be coming out of. I wanted them to look cruel and terrifying, and I got this kind of vaguely Beauty and the Beast character. And I just, you know, like Belle had just really let herself go. And wow.
That's really funny. And very accurate, actually. That is so good. That's really clever.
And I just wanted something that could be a bit cruel, you know? To kind of reflect that. And then I saw the designs that are coming up in, you say 8.2.5, and I just felt like we were getting more Disney. So that was my big bugbear with it. And ultimately I thought, yeah, I want something, you know, if I can't have something that looks like it would tear me apart on a rainy night, then I'm just going to have a sparkly night elf. So that's what I did.
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I think many people have tried it. I think, you know, the concept of a werewolf is something that really... I remember when they announced it in Cataclysm, and I thought, oh my god, they look amazing! And then you see the actual model that came into game, and again, no offense to everyone who loves them, it was not to my liking. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah. I know what you mean, and I played one for years. No, they just... I don't know, it's almost like Blizzard are a little bit afraid of making the women as frightening as the men. You know what I mean? It just feels like they're sort of shying away from it a bit. And I say, no, we want these terrifying creatures. That's what Worgen are meant to be. You look at Gen Greymane, and all right, he's a bit of a puppy dog. Let's be honest. His people can do better. You know, his people will tear us apart, and he can stand in the back. You know?
Exactly. Well, he's an old man now anyway, so...
Yeah. Let him just... Yeah.
Retire.
Give him the pipe and the slippers, and we'll do it. You know, Tess can take over.
Exactly. Oh yeah, that would be so cool. I would love that. And then
I would love that.
If she would get like a Worgen model, that would be amazing.
Yes, a proper Worgen queen.
That would be cool. I'd like that. You know, but that's my 2 cents, Blizzard, just if you, in case you're listening. Okay.
Yeah.
So you said that your friend got you into World of Warcraft. Was that immediately after she said, I'll show you how to play? You went like, okay, that's sign me up, or?
I mean, after 2 hours of getting ganked, I think the last thing she expected me to say was, I'm going to go and get this game myself. But yeah, I did.
Wow.
Somehow I just, I went and bought the game. All right, I made puppy eyes at my mum. I was 12. I went and dragged her into the local game store and begged her for it and got it, and took it home and got my brother into it. And then for the next 2 months we had constant fighting over who got the PC and who was playing WoW today.
Wow,
And that was fun. Then I got a laptop. Now I could play it then. So but yeah, I don't know what sort of drew me into it really. I think it was the fantasy element of it. I think it was kind of when you get going and you get the momentum behind you and you're getting through the levels a bit and you're finding out more about the world in Azeroth. You're finding out about the other faction. You know, that first time when you come across somebody from the other faction, I mean, it was very swift for me, but you kind of have this moment of, oh my goodness, that's a Horde player or that's an Alliance player, wow, and then I'm dead. But you have that moment of kind of almost being a little bit starstruck, you know?
Yeah.
And and then I wanted to go off and play Horde and see what that was all about. So I rolled a Blood Elf, I think, lost in time, and came back to Alliance quite quickly because all my friends went, "What are you playing Horde for?" So yeah, I think it was the world. And when somebody told me, "Oh, they've written books, by the way, that tie in with this video game," I was like, "Really? Buy me all of them!" So, what was the first WoW book I read? I can't remember. It had Jaina in it, and that kind of started off my love affair with Jaina, with this plucky mage, you know, and with the Alliance in general. I just kind of through Jaina, somebody said, "Hey, if you're interested in the women of WoW, you should go and look up Taronda, because she's amazing as well." And you know, this badass priestess. I mean, how could you not love this badass priestess who's just, yeah.
No, it's very true. And both characters that you've just described have made major, not like small changes, but like really big changes to their personality and how they were perceived in like maybe the books in the beginning and how they are now. And there's been so much said about these women. And that actually leads me to that the main topic. Now, for everyone who's new, I tend to always let the guest pick their topic, because just to explain it, you know, I can go, yeah, let's talk about PvP, but if you're not a PvPer, the subject will die really quickly. So I always throw out there, here, I want to know what sort of things you enjoy talking about. And I loved your topic suggestion, because that's something I have not seen a lot. I've heard people talk about the women in WoW, but I love your idea, because you said you wanted to talk about and it's a bit of a long one, but I'll do it a bit slower because I start to ramble otherwise. The characterization of WoW's women and how it could be adapted for television and things like that. And that I found really intriguing. But, you know, let's why did you pick this topic?
Ooh. Well, as you may have gathered, I love the women of Warcraft, and I love the lore of the women of Warcraft. And I suppose what kind of drew me into it was that Warcraft kind of puts its women on a very equal pedestal to its men. And, you know, I am a bit of a fantasy nerd, but I often feel a little bit like the women are a slight afterthought. And I'm not going to name any franchises. I'm sure people can think of a couple off the top of their heads. But I often find that women are sort of in this strange category of they're there to further the plot, and there's probably a couple badasses in the franchise, but it all boils down to the blokes. And with WoW, I just didn't really get that. And especially with BFA. just coming back in Legion and hearing people talk about BFA as it was sort of ramping up, and I was hearing about Kultiris and hearing about Jaina and hearing about something was going to happen to Taronda. Yeah, I think that's kind of... I've heard a lot of people, and Indira Varma last year at BlizzCon was talking a lot about the Me Too movement, and it feels like the women of WoW have kind of come out of their shells a bit. No Kultiran puns.
Do you feel like they've emphasized a little bit the fact that there are so many strong females in WoW, in WoW's lore, because of, you know, when they first announced BFA, we got all the Warbringer videos, and basically they all star women.
Yes.
And I did get that feeling that the men, even though they do play a role, they take a little bit of a sidestep to the actual people that where it all revolves around, which are females in this expansion.
Very much so. Very much so. I loved that the Warbringers were women. You know, just straight up from the start. That was what got me particularly excited for the expansion pack, and I'm not going to be sat here saying, oh, I don't pay attention to media that's got men in it, and I've played WoW for ages. You know, I loved Varian just as much as the next person did. My slightly racist and slightly crazy king, but...
he got better in the end. So.
Yeah, he got better, and then he got stabbed by a demon. Well, you know, unfortunate, but... Same thing happened to Vol'jin, you know, he's not, at least he's got a friend.
It's very true. So how do you feel that, which are your favorite women when you look at the characterization of them, and why are they your favorite?
Well, if I start with Jaina, totally predictable, of course. She's been through so much, you know, and Theramore was a catalyst for her character to develop, but I don't know if it was necessarily the catalyst we all thought we were going to get, or the catalyst that we necessarily wanted for her characterization. Why I say I think that her character... I'm so sorry if you can hear my dog drinking in the background.
No, and it's fine. If they need to drink, they need to drink. I wouldn't want a dog to go thirsty.
Oh, he is... Hello, sweetheart. So Jaina and Theramore. One thing that I see a lot of in WoW, and I'm not necessarily criticizing it, but WoW has this technique where it I'm so sorry, I'm very distracted by him right now. His name is Arthur, so I'm allowed to be distracted by him, right?
I like that name. That's a really cool name.
Thank you very much. So, one thing that WoW tends to do is it tends to take its broken women. It likes to break its women, if I can use that word, and people will then react to the women being broken by calling them crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of the women in WoW are crazy. I think they're very rational actors. I mean, Sylvanas I'll talk about in a minute, because hell, how have I got this far without mentioning Sylvanas? Sorry. I mean, Jaina, she's watched her world be destroyed by this faction that she sacrificed her own father for. To summarize, you know, and you can play through Warcraft 3 and you can feel for Jaina so hard, and everything that she does, she's doing for a purpose. Everything that she does is done with the idea of bettering things for the world of Azeroth as a whole. And you can take Arthas and you can talk about that all you want, and I still see people say, oh, if Jaina hadn't done this or Jaina hadn't done that, Arthas wouldn't have become the Lich King. And I say that's you know, that's ridiculous. If I hadn't got up this morning, I wouldn't have had a slice of cake for breakfast and now feel really sick. So it's all very relative.
Yeah.
And ultimately there's got to be a point at which you say Arthas' actions were his own. I've gone off topic. Jaina after Theramore is a very broken individual, but she's also a very rational actor in that she sees the Horde in a different light. She sees danger in the Horde that she didn't see when she was in more regular contact with Thrall and with Bane, and I presume with other members of the Horde as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a new level of threat that she sees, and suddenly she's looking to what's important to her, she's looking to what's precious to her. And if you look at it that way, Jaina's actions in rejecting the Horde, her actions in purging Dalaran, are they necessarily that irrational? I don't think they are. And why I think that this lends Warcraft in general and the women of Warcraft to televisation is that television relies on its character development, or more specifically drama. And we've seen how franchises like Game of Thrones, their popularity is enormous. Huge franchises with massive budgets. And the women of WoW and their development lend themselves to that sort of that gradual development, and the sort of plot lines that could take them over multiple series. Because I'm sure I'm preaching to the converted when I say that the Warcraft movie was actually quite good, or I thought it was.
I didn't mind it at all. I just think, is her name Paula Patton, the one who played Corona?
Oh, Paula Patton.
I think so. I still think she's too beautiful to play Corona, but that's my personal opinion.
She's very beautiful. Point taken. I think she played the role well. But yeah, Corona is a battle-scarred creature, isn't she? And again, you wonder how much this is people sort of shying away from having these ugly, scarred creatures being women.
Yeah.
But you know what? She's a wonderful actress. Yeah, and I'm so sorry. I've completely forgotten.
No,
what
I
was
distracted
talking
you with
about.
that.
No, that's me.
But yeah, the adaptation to television, because the characters are... Do you feel like, when you compare them to the male characters, that the women just have a little bit more development? Because, like you said, some people say that... I've never heard anyone say, oh yeah, that male character, like for instance Varian, has gone completely crazy. Whereas that word has been said to Ashara, Jaina, Sylvanas, basically all the Warbringers, and to a certain extent as well Tyrande. Now that she's the Night Warrior, it all seems like they're all a bit more like raw and out there and blood and murder, and you know what I mean? It's
Yes. And crazy is a word that does tend to get thrown around a lot more with women. And as I say, when you look at the reasons behind their actions, and I might have to maybe exclude Sylvanas a little bit from this, but they are rational. They're doing things to protect the people and the things that they love. And one of the biggest things that your protagonist has to have on a television program, on a drama, is they've got to be relatable and they've got to be likable. And actually, I see a lot of relatability in Jaina, in Tyrande, even in Sylvanas, for the things that, the horrible things that she's done. And I am a massive fan of hers. Sometimes she just makes me want to curl up in a ball in a corner and just stop burning my tree. No, and yet she's still rational. She's still doing things for a reason, and there's still a reason there, however convoluted that reasoning may be. But why I think they would all lend themselves in particular to televisation rather than making another film. I've seen a lot of people say, we want a film about Arthas, and I say, why make a film about Arthas when you can have an entire series of a TV program about his rise and fall?
Yeah.
When you can bring in all these different elements that were going on at the time, when you can span all of this lore, you can span his relationship with Jaina, you can span the invasion of Quel'Thalas. While it would be beautiful cinematically in a film, there's no reason why you can't televise that as well and bring in even more elements from the Warcraft universe. And you can also make the most out of these wonderful women. You can make the most out of Taronda. If you're going for Warcraft 3, you can get Jaina. Living Sylvanas, could have been a really compelling character for screen. And dead Sylvanas. I've got nothing against my lovely Banshee Queen. Well, I say that as a Night Elf main, but relatively speaking, if she could stop murderizing me, that would be nice. But it is that development and the way that they go from not flat characters, but characters who kind of have one purpose, and there's an inciting event, something happens to them, whether you're talking about Daelin Proudmoore or Theramore or Arthas invading Quel'Thalas, or the shenanigans with Maiev. I mean, I can understand why Taronda's a bit sore about that. So the women react in a way that can be related, and they react in a way that has reasoning behind it. With Jaina, she's lost everything, and she consolidates that which she loves. With Taronda, again, she's lost everything, so she takes the most powerful step she can think of, a step that she may not even survive, but she does that for her people. Sylvanas is... You can argue that she's doing what she's doing because she doesn't want to face her final death. You can argue that, but there's also so many aspects of rejection that she's gone through. She's gone through rejection from her own family, from her former alliance. She's come to this conclusion, unsurprisingly, that the Forsaken cannot coexist with the living. And even her place within the Horde has been so fragile. And it would be fascinating to explore that through a TV program, through a long, drawn-out plot and plotline. And, maybe we just don't have enough women on television. Maybe that's the crux of all of this, and especially in fantasy.
You know what? I think you might actually be really right, because there's so many examples out there of like what you said. There's certain male stereotypes, almost like this is always like the main character, and then there are women to support, and some of them might stand out, but there's never one that really has like massive character development. I think it's rare that you see that.
Yes.
Because I think already we know that Netflix is creating the new Witcher series, which will start a man, and that is fair enough, because it is his series. But I already have a feeling that the women who are going to be in there, who are like his love interest, I know that they will probably, because in the game they didn't bring that much for me, that I went like, oh yeah, they have gone really through a lot. Even in the books I didn't find them that interesting. So I'm like, again, it's another one of those series that will be out there, just women to support the men. And again, this is not me hating on men at all. That's not what I'm about. But it's just, it would be nice, and you can see that with the reaction that people gave with the Warbringer cinematics. That people have analyzed the cinematics, and I've never really heard that people were properly analyzing things and so enthusiastic about it. And the controversy of a Warbringer, and it was actually like 3 females. I feel like that could be such a big thing. And just to get off my pedestal as well, I think looking at certain movies that have been launched over the years, like for instance Wonder Woman, a lot of people that I spoke to before said, well, I don't know, it's Wonder Woman, how cool can it be? But I felt really, and it's so stupid for someone in their 30s to say, I felt really empowered by that movie, but I just thought to myself, if I have kids and I have a little girl and she would see something like that, I would get the feeling like, wow, this is something that I want my little girl to watch and just go like, oh wow, look at, she's just as good as the men. Because I think from a female point of view, I don't think we've had that many like role models. I mean, we've had people like Buffy and Xena and all those kickers, but they are rare compared to what we have on the male side of things.
Yes.
And I think your idea of having these characters from World of Warcraft in a TV series, especially because I think personally, and I didn't really think about it until you mentioned it, I just don't feel like the men in World of Warcraft are as three-dimensional as the women. And it would be so relatable, I think, not just for girls or women, but also for men, that you can see, you know, what the characters go through. And I just feel like the men in World of Warcraft are a bit more like, yeah, we're all hard, you know, and that's really it. Whereas the women, you can see that vulnerability much more.
Yes. And that's so important for both men and women to see in characters, is to see that they can be vulnerable and to see that they can be shattered. And I think that's great for everyone to see. I really do. I think that's such an important part of it. One of my favorite aspects of the books linked into WoW, War Crimes, which I imagine a lot of people listening will have read. Is it all right if I do a tiny spoiler?
Yeah, of course. That's perfectly fine.
Thank you. Spoiler warning. Wow, that was snappy. Well done, me. Should I get a horn? No. When after the meeting with Varisa has fallen apart, and Sylvanas is she's been rejected again. Her plot to assassinate Garrosh didn't work out. Varisa's rejected her. She's gone back to Dalaran to see her sons instead of going through with the plot with Sylvanas. And I mean, Sylvanas had been plotting, I think, as far as I remember, she was plotting to kill Varisa when this plot went through, to have her sister with her in the Undercity. Yeah. Isn't there something so painfully sad about that? So painfully Sylvanas, for want of a better word. She's willing to kill her own flesh and blood just so that she has some company. You know, just so that she has some remnant of family left. And she goes on a rampage through Silver Pine. She's tearing wolves apart with her bare hands. You know, I'm reading this thinking, I never want to flag myself for PvP again, ever. This is terrifying. And she starts screaming, which, you know, is a banshee, you kind of expect. So I'm reading this thinking, okay, well, she's, you know, banshee scream, sorry, Silver Pine Forest, I'll come back when you're in one piece again. And then she starts to cry. And that got me harder than any other moment in War Crimes, was when she started crying. Because in the world of Warcraft, you don't really... It's not a place for tears, you know? It's supposed to be a place for your Garroshes and your Cairn Bloodhoofs, the big burly warriors, throwing axes everywhere, screaming and shouting and impaling people. And that's kind of what you expect, I think, from a franchise called Warcraft. You know, the clue's in the name. We're not playing World of Cupcakes. But it's nice to see all of these characters who can be vulnerable. Even if she's, you know, in the middle of a forest and hiding it, she's very vulnerable. And that's part of, I'm sure that's part of why Sylvanas is doing all the things that she's doing in Battle for Azeroth. Is that... well, that she's been rejected, and I'm not going to say she's lonely, but she's lonely. And I think that's a really fascinating thing to explore in a world like Warcraft, is what being forsaken sort of means, and what it means to her in particular, and how you can sort of build off that for a character.
That, honestly, I would so watch any TV series that has her whole journey, basically. That would be so amazing. That I would love to watch. You need to talk to Blizzard. I really do. Just talk to Blizzard.
They'll have my Twitter handle by the end of this, so Christy Golden, if you're listening, I love you, and please.
No, I really like the idea of that, and I think you bring up some really good points. Do you have, from all those women that we have in World of Warcraft, is Jaina your favorite?
Ooh, that is $1 million question. It really is. Yes, I'd have to say she is. And Pride of Kultiris has been one of my favorite parts of World of Warcraft. Just hands down, the entire plot line of Pride of Kulturis, even though she wasn't actually there. And I remember sitting there, and I got to the end of the war campaign, and I was in Thros fighting all these bad guys and creatures made of wicker, which you don't expect wicker to be frightening, and they made it frightening, and that was impressive, you know.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, I never want to sit on our outside seating again. It just got me. And somehow they managed to do that. And that moment when Jaina's being confronted in that wonderful cinematic, that I just wanted to send Laura Bailey a tweet saying, "I just thank you," which I didn't, because but all of those moments when Jaina's sort of facing the moments that she regrets the most, and it's so, I mean, it's a wonderful homage to the kind of the lore behind Jaina and the decisions that she's been forced into making, and you're kind of really painfully reminded of, you know, she's quite young, Jaina. She's, if you sort of count World of Warcraft as real time, she's still only in what, her 30s?
Yeah.
She's no, you know, she's not seasoned in any meaningful way. Seasoned.
Yeah, she's not like Tyrande or Sylvanas or, you know, anyone like that.
Seasoned. I'm not trying to make her sound like a burger, God, but she's not that worldly wise necessarily. And I think her falling over with, if you want to call it falling over with Dalen, kind of proves that. She didn't necessarily make the best decisions with the information that she had at the time, and that's part of what makes her a wonderful character. She's flawed. She doesn't necessarily know what she's doing. She's, you know, she is just, I can relate on so many levels to that, having part of the information and making a decision, and somebody comes to you later and says, "Why on earth did you do that?" And you're sat there going, because I thought I was being noble, you know? I thought I was going to save the world, and now we have a Lich King. Well, damn. Oops, my bad. Except it's not, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
She's flawed, and she's wonderful, and she manages to still be a bit of a homebody, if you will, which I relate to. I never leave my house, so she still manages. I mean, Anduin calls her auntie, which just melts my heart every single time, by the way. You know, and their relationship is wonderful. It's almost like a mother-son relationship. And the fact that she can have that, and she can maintain that, and she can still go through all the crap that Blizzard has thrown at her. You know, she must get her script at the beginning of each expansion. She must get her script and just go, really? Really? Just hype it. Is that what happened at the beginning of Legion? She just got the script and she went, nope, just vanish. I don't blame her, but I don't blame her at all. She needs a hug. I think that's why I like her so much. She needs a hug.
Do you think, because, you know, we've been teased with things like the Dragon Owls, do you think that her sort of boyfriend, Calic, will make an appearance again? He made a very brief appearance. Oh shit. Oh, spoiler warning. No. I think people have seen him like a second or something. It was somewhere. Was it in the books? I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was in Before the Storm. He was wandering around Dalaran.
Yeah.
And she turns up. And I think she kind of, I don't know, I'd like to say, because Christy Goldner wrote it so beautifully, and I'd like to say that was kind of their goodbye. Because are they necessarily that compatible? I don't know. When you talk to people who are big fans of Jaina, and I'm talking about sort of people who write fan fiction based on the World of Warcraft characters, and Jaina and Sylvanas in particular, a lot of people write for them and really study their characters. And I just come in and go, I really like them, and they're there with their, 15 sheets of character development for them. I'm just like, okay. And it's pretty unanimous amongst a lot of them that they don't like Caligos very much as a character. That they think he just kind of, he swept in and stopped her destroying Orgrimmar, and then kind of buggered off for a bit. And I think he did some stuff at the end of War Crimes. I heard somebody use that phrase. He did some stuff at the end of War Crimes. And I mean, he's an interesting character, and I do like the books that he's in. Do I think that he and Jaina are very compatible? No, not necessarily. But I'm really looking forward to the Dragon Isles, and I hope he does have some inclusion in it, because he's a fun character. He's been through a lot. He's been through some really obscure parts of WoW lore, and I think it might be fun to kind of revisit those in game. The one that comes to mind, just in particular, is Jaina and Orgrimmar. That moment when she was going to destroy Orgrimmar, and he sort of tries to stop her, and it felt like a real shame that we didn't get that in game, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a shame at times, especially now that they have, I feel like their cinematics, they've upped their game with that, and I sometimes feel like, you know, nothing wrong with the books, but I sometimes feel like, well, not everyone likes to read. It's as simple as that, and you do miss a lot of stuff when you don't read the books. You don't get the full picture and the whole emotional stuff that comes with the cinematics, the storyline, anything like that. And yeah, it will be actually maybe a bit nicer when you actually also see more cinematics in game. And I do feel like BFA has delivered on that front a little bit. So
I mean, the cinematics in WoW at the moment, aren't they just wonderful?
I think they are beautiful.
They really are. It feels like cinema to watch them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not something I ever thought I would say in World of Warcraft, because, you know, I mean, Wrathgate aside and a few sort of notable examples like that, they can be a bit awkward, the older cinematics.
Yes.
Just a little bit. And I remember playing through the Battle for Lordaeron on my main, and when you see Anduin and his little posse, I don't know why I like to call it that, but his little posse just sort of sauntering through Lordaeron. And I remember thinking at the time, they've done a Dutch tilt on the camera. That's awesome. They could film this. They could just film this and it would look amazing. And they're using the people who do the cinematics, they're using camera techniques that I would use in TV production, which is really intriguing for a video game to be sort of incorporating that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Rather than just sort of sticking with the in-game camera. They are making these little movie moments in the game, which is amazing, and I want more of them. And I will go to Blizzard and beg them for more cinematics, and especially, I mean, the quality of the Warbringers aside, because that was just immense, and I can stare at that artwork all day long. The in-game cinematics are so incredibly vivid now, and I can't say it enough, they do play like little bits of television. And
it would definitely loan itself to branch out to a TV series. You know, even if they wanted to make it a web series, I think that would be a perfect start. But I can see it. It has the fan base, and I think a lot of other people would just embrace it as a new fantasy series.
I think it could sort of bring more people into the franchise, which would be amazing. It's a fun franchise, and there's so much of it. There's so much to delve into. Absolutely.
All right. Well, we've talked a lot about the women in Warcraft. Do you have anything else to say before I jump back to Battle for Azeroth?
If I could just beg Blizzard to give us a cinematic with Jaina Proudmoore at the same quality where we had the Battle for Azeroth trailer. Just give us HD Jaina, please.
You know what? I like that. That when BlizzCon is out there, just keep tweeting it. I'm sure there is.
Oh, I'm tweeting it already.
That's really cool. Okay. Well, let's jump into anything that has to do with BFA at the moment. So my next question to you is, what are you most impressed with when it comes to Battle for Azeroth, and what are you least impressed with?
Well, if I can start with the less impressed
Yeah.
part, I'm not a pessimist. I'm just a realist. Um, I'm not a massive fan of the Azerite system,
Mm-hmm.
and I log in and I look at that neck and I die a little inside. That bar fills up so slowly. I feel like it's taunting me. I really do. And I'll log into an alt and I'll gain 2 heart levels in a day. And I log back onto my main and she sat there going, what is this? And it just, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it adds very much to the game for me.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. I've heard many people just not feeling it.
No.
So I think that's fair. But what is the one thing that you do, well, maybe not one thing, but what is one that you really do enjoy that you're impressed with?
Oh, the better part.
Mhm.
I can be happy now. You know what? The raiding in BFA has actually been really, really good, and I was a bit worried with Uldia because I wasn't really feeling it. I liked the storyline, but it felt like the storyline made more sense to Horde players, especially when you got to Mithrax and Gahoon, because the Alliance hadn't really had any of that. And it took me going and leveling my poor neglected Horde to actually understand everything of what was going on.
Mm.
Being an Alliance main, going through Uldir, it was kind of, yeah. Also, if I have to fight Zekros one more time, I may just stab myself in the eye with a pencil. Donuts. Those donuts, not the nice kind.
Mm.
And then Dazara Law came out, and I was suddenly feeling it. It was, everything felt crisp and new and fun and challenging. And as many wipes as I've had on Jadefire Masters, and I still have nightmares. As many wipes as I've had in there, it felt so much more fun. And it just elevated raiding for me. And to be fair, Uldia was quite sort of dark and claustrophobic in its atmosphere. And then you were suddenly thrown into this very bright Dazara Law. And it just, I don't want to say it felt like night and day, but it kind of did. Gosh, what else in BFA am I liking? I mean, I'm gonna stick up for the dailies. I think there's quite a nice variation. Not necessarily Tortolans, because the number of my guildies who will sit there and complain non-stop when their Tortolan emissary comes up, and you'll be sat there on Discord with them, and all I'm hearing is "fucking turtle made it to the water," and I don't think they're feeling it. But I quite like the mini games, and especially the mini games with Najatar. The chests and I'm just going to call it Bejeweled. I don't know what it's meant to be called. But you know what? I can sit there and I can relax. And it's a moment for you to drink your cup of tea. And I don't know. It feels like it's kind of a pause to breathe in the game, which I like. Because, yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. It feels like at least I don't have to kill something again, like 25 of these. Now I can just, get 25 yellow gems or something. It's fine.
Can put the lasers away for a minute and just be a chicken. Perfect.
Exactly. No, I agree with you. All right, so that's good. I think you're bang on. There's luckily a lot of positive stuff at the moment, but it never hurts to criticize what they can learn from.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any good tips for everyone who's listening regarding Battle for Azeroth? Maybe something that you discovered, like, oh, I didn't know this, or actually maybe this worked really well for me, or anything that you want to share?
Well, I have heard a lot of people talking about how slow the neck is to level up. But on the other hand, a lot of people talking about how the emissaries are boring, and honestly, just grit your teeth, just do the emissaries. They do give you a nice chunk of Azerite. And, I've watched guildies, and they are so bored doing it, bless them. Some of them just really do not like dailies. And, that's fair enough. Most of them are well, some of them are PvPers, and they'll go off and do their PvP and then come out again and think, why am I guiding this fucking turtle to the water? But I don't have anything against the Tortolans. I think I've seen enough turtles.
Yeah.
Please. Yeah, just grit your teeth and do them. And seriously, the neck really does come on. I was the first in my guild to max out my neck, which it probably says more about how I'm wasting my life away than anything else. But it worked, it worked. What else? Find a guildie with flying if you haven't got it already.
That's a good tip.
I got it on this last Thursday, and I spent a lot of time being ferried around by my very sweet GM. So thank you, Chris, for lending your Sandstone Drake to this poor druid. In all seriousness, I think most of the game is quite sort of intuitive at this point. I think you got everything mapped out for you. One thing I will say is because I've noticed people don't realize about it, but the 7th Legion tokens, you can use those to get XP flasks for your ults. I didn't know about this, and I'm leveling a Void Elf, and somebody told me about it the other day just as I hit 110. Thanks! Thank you so much, my lovely, friendly guildie. But yeah, that's a thing which I found out about.
Actually, a really good tip, because I kind of forgot about that as well. So that's a good one. All right. The next question is all about community. Now, your community can be as big or as small as you want. I mean, a community might mean something completely different to me than it does to you. But I've heard you talk about some guildies. So what has the Warcraft community meant to you personally?
Oh, wow. Well, I joined my current guild sort of towards the end of Legion. And I wanted a social guild first of all and a raiding guild second. And they've just been amazing. I mean, I can't stress how much I love them. If they're listening, yeah, I'm going soppy on you.
If you want to give them a shout out, feel free.
Hello, fallen angels, EU Nordrassil, I love you all. Except you know who you are. And well, now I've burned some bridges. Whoops. No, they're fantastic, and I think I've stuck with WoW more this time than I would have done because of them, and because of how fun they are and how madcap they are, and I think if you can find a guild like that where they're just a bit unhinged and a bit lovely, they've been my WoW community, and it's wonderful to to get to chat with them as often as I can. In terms of the greater WoW community, I tend to find they're a very mixed bunch. It's a bit of a dual-edged sword how very passionate people can be about the game. Because on the one hand you get people who kind of defend the game to the hilt, and I can understand that. When you're very passionate about something, you will defend it. There are certain TV shows, if you say something nasty about my favorite TV shows, I will find you. And I think people can kind of fall into that trap of just defending them, which isn't really healthy, because how are they going to figure out what the community's not loving if people aren't talking about it? But on the other hand, you then get people who just turn it into their job to criticize, and they just want to nitpick, and they just want to complain. And I will be the first to go on Twitter and say, hey, Borealis is really laggy at the moment, can you sort this out? And then you get the people who say, it's so laggy, I haven't been able to play the game for days, please sort this out. And you can tell there's a bit of an exaggeration going on, either that or they need a new router. But I don't want to say that to them. But I think it's kind of, you've got these two extremes, and it is a bit of a worry when the extremes kind of clash. And I think you can spend so much time in the WoW community that it almost becomes a bit overwhelming. And yeah, but it's wonderful that after, I mean, when did the game launch? 2003, 4?
I feel so old now.
I feel like I've had my WoW card revoked for not knowing when it came out, but but yeah, and the fact that there are still people out there who are so passionate about it, and people who were passionate enough that they brought Classic back, you know, and people who are passionate enough that Warcraft 3 Reforged is going to be a thing, which I'm hugely excited about, by the way. And I think it's going to be amazing. But then maybe I'm just a Blizzard shill. But I think it's a very unique community in that respect, that people have got that much passion after this many years, and I just want that to continue, because it's wonderful. It's so much fun, you know.
Yeah, and I think it's nice to see something that we're all united with. I think you like when you're at BlizzCon, not that I've ever been, but when I see it on my virtual ticket, I really enjoy like the atmosphere that you get from everyone who's there. And
Yes.
I think that's one of those things that you can just say. You know, you can say a lot about the community, and God knows we've seen some drama for the supporters and the people who are a bit more negative. But all in all, when you see that in BlizzCon, you're like, yeah, well, it is basically your Blizzard family, isn't it? Because at least everyone knows what you're talking about.
Oh, indeed. Yes. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. So, you know, I think it's great that everyone gets united.
Yes.
Okay, now comes the awkward question. Like I always say, this is a failed experiment, guys. I thought, you know, let's be clever with the name of the podcast, and I'll have one question relating to this, but it just goes nowhere. So I've created it into something new, and it seems to work. So, what is your whisper? And that could be, you know, anything that you want to basically say about the game. It could be a bit of fairy crafting. Where do you think that the story is going? Maybe something you want to see implemented in game. Now that could have to do with gameplay or just mechanics or anything. Purple hippo for all I care, or you know, or anything special. Maybe even an add-on that you're like, oh, that would make things so much easier. Or, you know, we all need Peggle again. So, what is your whisper?
I may have to be a bit cliched and say I'd actually really like some player housing, maybe.
You know what? I'm so with you.
Phew. You know what? Maybe I want to play WoW and The Sims at the same time. Is that such a tall demand? We've got. I mean, we had garrisons, and I can't say I was the biggest fan of that, but I just, you know, I want to go out and kill. Who's a dragon? A Deathwing, you know. Let's go and kill Deathwing, and then I want his head on my wall. Okay, I don't care that he's a former aspect. I just want his head on my wall. And you know, I think that would be fun.
Yeah. I agree. I think if Elder Scrolls Online can do something like that, I don't really. Maybe it's very narrow-minded of me just going, well, I don't understand why Blizzard can't do it with WoW, but. You know, I'm like, well, why not? You're opening up so many more opportunities for people to spend their gold for furniture or things.
Oh, yes.
So,
yeah, the auction house is going to go crazy.
Exactly.
If that ever gets implemented. Otherwise, Blizzard, if you're listening, please simplify Balanced Druid, please. But, I don't want to sound like I'm a lazy player, but I feel like I need to take another degree to play the class.
I think at times, yeah, some of them, like, I don't know with the laser chickens. They sometimes are a little bit, I would almost say clanky. With the it's played.
Yeah, some of it feels very counterintuitive, and I hate to break this to you, Blizzard, but there is such a thing as too many dots. There really is. And my raid leader will hate me for saying that as well, but please, there are just so many. Please.
I think that's a very good point. You know, anytime that they can improve a boomkin, I'm all for it. All right. Well, thank you so much for the interview. I really, really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you.
Also because our time zones are the same, so that makes life so much easier for me.
Yes.
Makes planning a lot easier. Like, I've done weird times in the past, then it just makes it easier that we're on the same ones, because I never trust online time converters.
No.
One time and then all of a sudden it's like a different time. But that will be a challenge for all my American and Australian friends, but we'll manage to do that.
Best of luck.
Yeah, thanks. If people want to find you on Twitter to have a conversation maybe about all the wonderful women in WoW and TV and all of that fun stuff, where can they find you?
Anytime. My Twitter handle is @ohheyAunicorn. Yeah, I know.
I love it.
Unicorns. Sometimes you just gotta be a unicorn. So yes, oh hey, a unicorn. And well, if you want to find me in game, then I don't know my Battle.net handle, so just tweet me. I'm so sorry.
That's right. You can always ask it there. That's always the easy.
Yeah,
and then you
amazing.
can screen people like, maybe not. You don't have to have them.
That's an inbuilt screening process. See, you're just better at this.
It's just because I've had things like that. I'm like, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
No, but that's okay. That's really cool. And you said that about unicorns, but unicorns, they look gorgeous and fluffy, but they can still stab you if need be. So
Exactly. I just want to be cute and deadly. Is that so much to ask?
not at all. Thank you, Yasamin, so much for this interview. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that interview. It was lovely talking to her, and you will hear many, many more female voices over the course of the weeks, which I'm very, very happy about. Right, let's go to your Twitter answers, because I asked the same question, about which women would you, in WoW lore, if that would be transferred to a TV show, either with real actors or animated, which storylines would you want to see? So you guys responded. Fabry said appropriate GIF, because I posted Jaina. Considering my answer would be Jaina without a second thought. Like Arthas, she's a character I've been following since her first appearance, and because with all the pain she's been through, she deserves all the love. I think Tyrandy is the one that has more potential for stories from that selection. She spends 10,000 years protecting Kalimdor and leading the Night Elves. Something interesting must have happened there. But keep it animated. Live action would be too much of a constraint. I think there's something to say for live action, but I think for me personally, I would love animated, but I'm really picky when it comes to animation. So yeah, well, if that ever happens, it will be interesting to see how they do it. Aaron said Valera, because I found her story interesting and different than others, and I find it cool that there is an official WoW character whose backstory is contained in a different medium. I will be interested in learning more about Ashara, specifically her life before the sinking of her city. I think those two are really good, and in all fairness, I love Valera. When I saw Valera in the comics, that's when I wanted to have a Blood Elf rogue of my own. Nick said, I'd love a Jaina series, since she's been around for most everything since Warcraft 3. Do a Netflix series, 8 or 10 episodes per season. Season 1 would be Warcraft 3. Season 2 would lead up to ICC. Season 3 would be the bombing of Faramore to noping out of Legion. Season 4 would be fighting demons and BFA. You know what, I think you need to talk to Netflix, Nick, because I think you're onto a winner there. Navok said, as much as I love our current lore of popular heroines, I think I'd prefer some new lore and story, so my suggestion would be Talia Fordragon. It would be interesting to see the adventures she's had as a squire of Cyrus to meeting Flynn. That would be really cool. I think I would love to see that, yeah, because I have a feeling she's going to become really interesting in the upcoming expansions, or maybe patches. B-Spin said, I've always loved the lore of Queen Ashara. So yeah, that would be, I think Ashara is one of those characters that is very much in the picture right now. Pain and Strife said, I don't know exactly why, but I've always been strangely aware and appreciative of Chandra's feather moon. Maybe because she was so green during War of the Ancients and over the millennia has come into her own and earned the honor of serving as general of the Sentinel Army. Badass. Christy Golden has done wonders for Jaina's character development that just sometimes outright gets crushed by the game. I've always loved Jaina's character in the books, working very slowly through Tides of War, and it's been an absolute joy. Give me a Jaina show. Yeah, I think you know what you say about Chandris and Jaina, absolutely true. Jordan said Jaina, loved her story at the beginning of BFA, loved Tides of War, and loved her boss fight. Cool. Mess said for the Dark Lady, I don't play Horde, I don't like Horde, but I watch a metric shit ton of a show about Sylvanas and her sisters. I think it would be really interesting to see also the interaction between her and her sisters. Another really good suggestion is from the chaotic good girl, Lillian Voss. Her backstory and history is so deep and heartbreaking. But any of them, all of them, I'd say my war chief. There isn't a lot of about her before she was turned, and I'd like to know more about her early days. Sai said, I've always loved Sylvanas, even though she's made s'mores from the fire of the world tree. Yeah. She was one of my favorites in Warcraft 3, and it was pretty jarring when you actually had to hunt her down, change her into the Banshee Queen while playing as Arthas. Yeah, those are some really, really, really good things. I think Netflix needs to get on to this, talk to Blizzard or the other way around, and we'll get some really cool shows. Who knows with BlizzCon this year? We might get an interesting story there. Right, guys, that is it for today's show. Thank you so much for all the new listeners, because I've seen that we've gone a bit up. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Yeah, if you want to be a guest, you can always contact me. I love to talk to new people, or older ones who've already been here. I love returning guests as well. So you can contact me on Twitter at whispers_of_war. My personal one is at McMonkeys with a Z. My email for the show is whispersofwarpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitch if you want to. I haven't streamed yet, I know I'm slacking. I've been very busy with interviews. But you can find me on twitch.tv/McMonkeys with 2 Zs. And of course you can find all the shows and show notes on whispersofwar.podbean.com. I hope you guys are still grinding away with flying, if that's what you want, or if you're just having fun in-game, and I will talk to you all next week. Bye-bye!
This show is brought to you by Dragon Powered Studio. Find more at dragonpoweredstudio.com.